Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are in class with Ruth, Lessons on Lasting Relationships. In this session, we'll be looking at Ruth chapter 1, verses 6 to 15. Why some walk away. Let's read that passage, Ruth chapter 1, beginning with verse 6. And then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread. Therefore she went out from the place where she was, and her two daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, "Go return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband." Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, "Surely we will return with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn back, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. Turn back. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband tonight and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? Would you restrain yourselves from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me." Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." We live in a throwaway world, and relationships are no exception. Failure to maintain commitment to relationships is not a new phenomenon. In the next 3 sessions in this study, we'll focus on the decisions and commitments of 3 women, beginning with Orpah. She illustrates those who choose to walk away from relationships, to find personal happiness somewhere else. Orpah had just lost her husband and was encouraged by her mother-in-law to leave the family. Given such an easy out, she just simply left. I remember my father simply walking out when my mother reacted to his comment about the breakfast she made. I was about 15, 16 years old. I wasn't there, I was in school, but my mother made breakfast for my father, and my father sat there and started making comments, criticizing it, and my mother said, "If you don't like it, leave." He left. He never came back. The issue is not as much her actions as her spirit. The underlying attitude with Orpah, like my father and many others today, was if things don't work out, then walk out. The problem with seeking happiness by walking out is that you have to sacrifice the relationships and responsibilities to do so. Why do so many have this attitude regarding personal relationships? Why? Well, first of all, walking away is an attractive option. Look at verses 4 and 5. Now they took wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, the name of the other Ruth, and they dwelt there about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the woman survived her 2 sons and her husband. Compared to the life she had been living, walking out was very attractive. Cutting her losses was appealing because she believed her needs could be met elsewhere. She had 2 reasons. potential for expected fulfillment. Everyone enters relationships with expectations. When those emotional or physical needs go unmet, frustration develops and tension stresses the relationship. Orpah had the same expectations as couples do today. Marital satisfaction. She probably spent most of her married life caring for a sick husband. It's not natural to give without receiving. Maternal joy. Orpah did not experience motherhood, and the present situation didn't offer hope. Material security. Chapter 1, verse 19, which we'll look at later. Now the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem, and it happened when they had come to Bethlehem that all the city was excited because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi?" That Naomi was so well known, that Naomi was so well known suggests they were financially well off at one time. But with all the men dead, the widows would have to sell possessions just to survive. A life of poverty was not Orpah's expectation. In the end, her relationship didn't produce any expected benefits, only disappointments. And then second, the promise of desired excitement. Verse 9. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. What Naomi meant was that her daughters-in-law might find new husbands. Orpah saw this as a new beginning. Walking away from relationships is attractive because it offers promises without problems. But that's only an illusion. The momentary excitement of freedom from responsibility fades into the routine. The same problems are there with new issues to handle. So walking away is an attractive option, but also walking away is an acceptable option. Look at verses 14 and 15. And they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And she said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." It's amazing. Naomi encouraged Orpah to leave, even at the risk of her returning to pagan religion, her gods. Naomi, in effect, said it was okay to just walk away from a relationship. Of course, Naomi was speaking out of her own pain. Orpah's exit was acceptable and encouraged. People justify leaving relationships with, "I have a right to be happy." Some say, God wants them to be happy, so they should leave. Add the mentality that everyone does it, and it's easy to rationalize walking away. And then third, walking is an easy option. Although walking away is an easy option. Although she wept before leaving, Orpah walked away because she left open the possibility of leaving. Notice in verse 14 that Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Her tears were betrayed by her simple kiss. She had an "I love you, but" attitude. Orpah pictures those who decide to walk away to pursue happiness elsewhere. While the record is silent about the rest of her life, she probably didn't find that happiness unless she learned the value of commitment. Game show host Hugh Downs once made an observation. He said a good marriage is supposed to be a happy marriage. But I've always thought that happy is a slightly misleading word. Some people think that happiness implies only good things without any bad. But happiness can imply more than just good things. There is a second happiness that includes both good things and bad. This deeper happiness, or what I like to call great happiness, implies that a thread of pain weaves its way through the pleasure to create a more mature fabric, a fabric fit to cloak the wise. Since some bad things are inevitable, this acceptance is a kind of wisdom. And this is true of all relationships. You have a great day.